Used to not awakening, used to remembering who you were before time began. There is a moment quiet, often imperceptible, when the veil shivers. Not tears, not crumbles, but shivers. A subtle tremor in the structure of your perceived self, where time folds like silk in the hands of the infinite. And in that trembling stillness you feel it not a beginning but a return. Not discovery, but remembrance. You are not awakening, you are remembering. This statement, as bold and paradoxical as the nature of consciousness itself, opens a portal, an invisible archway that reveals the ancient architecture of your soul. Awakening implies novelty, a rise from slumber. But what if you were never truly asleep? What if you were simply caught in a dense forgetting, a cosmic amnesia encoded not to punish, but to protect a truth so vast it would melt the scaffolding of identity? In that light, this journey of so-called spiritual awakening transforms. It is no longer a climb toward enlightenment as if it were a summit to be reached through effort and struggle. Rather, it is a peeling back, a disrobing, a sacred disintegration. It is the unwinding of illusion, like thread being gently pulled from the edge of a tapestry, revealing not something new, but something ancient, something foundational, yourself, unmasked. And this self is not who you think you are. You were never your name, your lineage, your traumas, or your triumphs. These are chapters, yes, meaningful, but still only chapters in a book you did not begin in the womb. You are the ink. You are the silent witness that existed before the first word, before the first breath, before the stars hummed their first light into being. In the world of forms we are taught to construct the self, to define, to label, to become. But in the metaphysical layers beneath this tangible realm, becoming is not the path. Undoing is, shedding is, dying not in body but in ego, in story, in identification. You are not becoming awakened, you are deconstructing the lie that you ever weren't. And this lie, this grand illusion, is maintained by time itself. Time is the dream's skeleton. In linearity you believe you have a past that birthed you and a future that awaits you. But in the vast stillness of eternity, time collapses into now, and in that now, you were never born, you were always. The ancients whispered of this in hidden temples and silent rituals. The Atman beyond the roles of man, the spark of divine fire residing in each I am. The Gnostics, the Hermetics, the Magi, they knew. They encrypted it in parables, encoded it in symbols, because truth cannot be told to the ears still addicted to illusion. It must be remembered. And remembrance is not passive. It is violent in its grace. It shatters. To remember who you were before time began is to confront a seismic truth. You are not a product of this world. You are its architect wearing flesh, not metaphorically, but ontologically. The divine did not create you as an object in the cosmos. It dreamt of itself, and you were the dreamer within the dream. This is the Ouroboros of consciousness, creator and creation indistinguishably entwined. This truth is not meant to inflate the ego, but to obliterate it. And now, in this moment of acceleration, where the veils are thinning and old paradigms collapse under their own weight, this remembrance is no longer optional. It is erupting. It is summoning. It is an ancient bell vibrating through the fabric of the illusion, and many are hearing it for the first time, though it has rung since before the birth of galaxies. You two are not awakening, it says. You two are remembering. Remembering the primordial breath before language, the silence before thought, the light before light. And in this remembering, you are not adding something to yourself. You are subtracting what you are not. You are not fixing nor improving. You are stripping down to essence, returning to source. And when you stand naked in that lightless, timeless light, you realize that what you feared as death was actually birth. What you resisted as annihilation was liberation. You were never asleep. You were in sacred disguise. This then is the lens through which we must now look, not at the external world, not even at ourselves in the mirror of form, but into the holographic hall of echoes where your true face waits patiently behind the veil of becoming. Not a stranger, not even a god, but the original you, the you that whispered the cosmos into being. To begin disentangling the deeper currents beneath this remembrance, we must reorient our perception of identity, not as a solid structure, but as a holographic lens. Your life, your name, your history are but facets on a crystal, refracting a single eternal light through the prism of forgetfulness. In the depths of this remembrance, we find ourselves standing before three interwoven threads not to be studied linearly, but to be felt as a tapestry of soul geometry, alive and vibrating with timeless resonance. The first thread is the illusion of separation. At the heart of forgetting lies the falsehood that you are a separate being, encapsulated in a body, tethered to a singular birth, destined for a singular death. But the ancient initiates taught what the mystics glimpsed in trance. Separation is a function of perception, not reality. You are not inside your body. Your body is within your awareness. You are the field, not the form. And as this field of awareness collapses the illusion of subject and object, you remember not conceptually, but as a visceral unveiling that the entire cosmos is within you, not metaphorically, literally. The second thread is the fractal nature of memory itself. Memory as we know it is often considered retroactive, a sequence of past events. But memory in the deeper esoteric sense is not temporal. It is archetypal. It is stored not in time but in vibration. The soul doesn't remember moments. It remembers states. To remember who you were before time is to access the divine echo encoded in your very frequency, a resonance that predates your incarnation and yet exists outside of it. Each time you sit in stillness and feel that peculiar pulse of I am, you are not simply connecting to yourself. You are tapping into the primordial source from which the entire human narrative was dreamed into being. The third thread is the sacred technology of forgetting. Many recoil from the notion that we chose to forget. They see forgetfulness as punishment, the fall, the curse. But in the mystery traditions, forgetting was an initiation, a descent into form that would make the ascent meaningful. The soul's journey through density, through ego, through trauma and joy alike, was the alchemical furnace within which remembrance would be forged, not through doctrine or belief, but through the friction of existence itself. To forget is to cocoon. To remember is to unfold the wings that were never removed, only folded inward. Together, these threads form the trinity of remembrance, unity beyond duality, vibration beyond chronology, and descent as divine play. These are not theories to be agreed upon, but keys meant to unlock interior doors. They do not explain, they activate. And yet, here in this dream layer of earth, such truths are blasphemous to the ego. The ego clings to its timeline. It fears annihilation, for it suspects rightly that remembrance is the death of its illusion. But we are not here to destroy the ego. We are here to reassign its role. When the ego no longer sits on the throne, but bows at the altar of the higher self, it becomes a sacred servant. The dragon is no longer slayer or slain, but tamed, integrated, its fire transmuted into wisdom. At this stage, the words spoken by sages across time begin to echo differently in the mind. Know thyself was not about character. It was a call to pierce through all character, all identity masks, and awaken to the self beyond the self. Not the person but the presence. Not the vessel but the vastness. We begin to see that all spiritual disciplines, from the breathing practices of the yogis to the invocations of the magi, to the sacraments of the mystics, are not about acquiring anything. They are about subtracting. They are chisels meant to chip away at what you are not, until the divine sculpture underneath is revealed. And that sculpture, to the shock of many, bears your face, not the face of your flesh, but the original face, before your parents were born. This is the heartbeat behind the statement. You're not awakening, you're remembering. Awakening is often sought like a prize, something to achieve through merit. But remembrance is a return. It is humble. It is not flashy. It is soft, like the scent of something familiar, long lost, suddenly arriving on the breeze of stillness. You do not grasp it, you open to it. And once you do, the architecture of reality itself begins to show its seams. Because reality as you have known it is not a fixed structure. It is a construct, layered over a deeper template of being. The physical world is the crust. The subtle realms are the magma. And within that heat resides the truth that you are not the dreamer who woke up. You are the dream that realized it was the dreamer all along. If this message stirred something ancient within you, something you couldn't quite name but deeply felt, consider subscribing to the channel. This space is not just a collection of videos. It is a sanctuary for remembrance, a temple carved into the digital ether, where soul meets signal. If these words helped you remember, even for a flicker of a second, who you truly are beyond time, leave a like. That single gesture sends ripples into the algorithm. Yes, but more than that, it affirms to yourself, I remember. And in the comments, write this: I was never asleep, I was in sacred disguise. Let that be your sigil, a marker on your path, a memory encoded in the grid. Now let us enter the final gate together. Here ends part 1. We have peeled back the first layers of illusion, dissolving the false idea that you are something separate, something new, something becoming. We have stood at the threshold of a truth that cannot be learned, only remembered that you are not awakening but returning. In part 2, we will descend into the timeless mythologies encoded in our soul's memory. Ancient symbols, sacred archetypes, and metaphysical stories that reveal the deeper purpose of your forgetting and the divine necessity of your return. This next chapter will not speak to your mind. This next chapter will not speak to your mind. It will speak to the part of you that was never born and never forgot. When you're ready, step through the portal.